Before the next flush, look down. What you see in that bowl is one of the most honest health reports your body will ever give you, and most people ignore it completely. Welcome to Senior Health and Wellness, where we take the science seriously so you don't have to guess. Here's what we're covering today. Your stool, its shape, its texture, its color, is a direct window into the health of your gut ecosystem. Not a vague window, a precise one, and once you understand what you're looking at, you will never see your bathroom the same way again. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong. Most of us assume that what ends up in the toilet is just the leftover food our body didn't want. Undigested scraps. That's actually a myth, and a dangerous one. The majority of what makes up a healthy stool is not food waste. It's living and recently deceased gut bacteria. Trillions of them. Your gut microbiome, that vast, intricate ecosystem of microorganisms living inside your digestive tract, is literally showing up in every bowel movement you have. So when something looks off, it's not random. It's a signal. Your gut ecosystem is either thriving, struggling, or under attack. And the shape, the texture, and the color will tell you which one. Now watch this, because this is where it gets interesting. If what you're seeing are small, hard, pellet-like pieces, almost like rabbit droppings or marbles, that's your gut ecosystem sending a distress signal. What it's telling you is that your bacterial colonies are underfed. Gut bacteria don't eat what we eat. They eat soluble fiber, the kind found in plants, roots, and certain seeds. When you strip that fuel source out of your diet, which is exactly what happens on ultra-low carbohydrate or all-meat dietary patterns, your microbial ecosystem doesn't just shrink, it starves. The bacteria that remain can't divide. They can't produce the waste products that bulk up a healthy stool. What comes out instead are these dense, compacted pellets. And the cruel irony? People following these extreme dietary approaches are often told that producing less stool is a good thing, that it proves they're absorbing everything. Evidence suggests the opposite. A diminished compacted output is a sign of a diminished microbial population, and that has downstream consequences for immunity, inflammation, and long-term colon health. There's also a second driver of this pellet pattern: dehydration. Your large intestine, your colon, has one primary mechanical job, and that's to reclaim water from stool before it exits. If you're not drinking enough, your colon pulls more aggressively, and what's left becomes hard and compact. The good news here is practical. Tea counts, coffee counts. Neither one dehydrates you in normal quantities. So if marble-like stools are your reality right now, your first two moves are clear. Reintroduce diverse plant fiber and increase your fluid intake. For those dealing with chronic constipation that persists even after those adjustments, research suggests that magnesium, typically in the range of 300 to 600 milligrams taken in the evening, can make a significant difference. This matters especially for older adults. Our soils have become increasingly depleted of magnesium, which means the food we eat contains far less of it than it once did. Magnesium deficiency is far more widespread than most people realize, and its effects on gut motility are real. But here's something we need to talk about that most gut health content completely misses. Feeding your gut ecosystem isn't about taking one type of fiber in large amounts and calling it done. That's not how a thriving gut works. Different bacterial species require different prebiotic substrates. What nourishes one colony may do almost nothing for another. Research into the dietary habits of hunter-gatherer populations gives us a striking comparison. These populations consumed somewhere between 100 and 150 grams of diverse plant fiber daily, not 100 grams of a single source, but a rotating, seasonal mix of whatever plants were available. The variety was the point. Contrast that with the average intake in modern Western diets, which research suggests sits closer to 5 grams per day, and you begin to understand why digestive dysfunction is so widespread. A soda with a small amount of prebiotic fiber added to a sugar-heavy formula is not the answer. Your gut ecosystem needs diversity, not a token gesture toward fiber while the rest of your diet undermines it. Lumpy, segmented stools that look like linked sausage or a caterpillar fall into this same category of diversity deficiency. Your bacterial populations are not being fed a wide enough range of substrates to produce smooth, continuous output. The fix isn't simply eat more fiber. It's eat more types of fiber from more types of plants. Now we need to pause here and talk about something more serious, because not every change in stool shape is about diet. If you've been having normal, regular bowel movements and you begin noticing that your stools are becoming progressively narrower, thinner, almost ribbon-like, as though they're being extruded through an increasingly tight passage, that is not a dietary problem. That is a structural warning. A narrowing stool can indicate a constrictive lesion inside the colon, and one of the causes we do not want to delay investigating is colorectal cancer. This is educational, not medical advice. We are evidence-led and we manage risk. But what we know clinically is this. You don't need to wait for pain. You don't need to wait for visible blood. A change in stool caliber that persists is a reason to speak with your healthcare provider. There are blood-based markers and stool-based tests with meaningful accuracy for detecting early colorectal changes. Use them. Now let's talk about floaters. A stool that rises to the surface of the water instead of sinking is telling you something important about your fat digestion. When fat passes through the digestive tract without being fully broken down, it ends up in the stool, and fat is less dense than water, which is why those stools float. Here's what we know. If you're consuming an extremely high-fat dietary pattern and you notice floating stools shortly after starting it, your digestive enzyme output may simply be lagging behind the volume of fat you're asking it to process. Your pancreas and liver-derived bile salts are your fat-processing infrastructure, and they have capacity limits. But if your diet hasn't changed and floating stools are becoming a consistent pattern, that's a different signal. That suggests your fat digestion infrastructure, your pancreatic enzymes, your bile production, may be underperforming. This is measurable through advanced stool testing, and in some cases, supplementing with digestive enzymes alongside meals is enough to resolve it. If your stool is pale, almost clay-colored or chalky white, that signals something more urgent. Bile duct obstruction. The color of healthy stool comes from bilirubin, a component of bile. No bile reaching the stool means something is blocking its flow. That requires a medical conversation immediately. Do not wait on that one. What about mushy, soft-serve style stools, the kind where you feel like your gut is constantly in a state of low-grade irritation? This pattern is one we see frequently, and the mechanism is specific. Certain proteins found in plants, lectins, can physically irritate the lining of the colon when consumed in high quantities or in their raw, unprocessed form. Research suggests this irritation is the gut's attempt to expel the offending compound as quickly as possible. The lining becomes inflamed, transit time accelerates, and the result is that soft, urgent output. The first step is removing the highest lectin offenders, grains, certain legumes, and nightshade vegetables. If you choose to keep those foods, preparation matters. Pressure cooking dramatically reduces lectin content in most of these foods. However, and this is critical, pressure cooking does not neutralize gluten. Even fermented sourdough preparation, which some believe eliminates gluten, has been shown to leave intact gluten components capable of triggering gut wall irritation. If gluten sensitivity is part of your picture, there is no cooking method that makes wheat safe for you. Raw cruciferous vegetables present a similar challenge for some people. Their plant defense compounds, even in the absence of lectins, can irritate a sensitive gut lining. The solution is aggressive cooking, steaming, boiling, or pressure cooking until these vegetables are completely soft. The goal is to disarm those defense compounds before they arrive in your colon. Now, let's talk about watery, urgent diarrhea, because the instinct most people have about treating it is exactly backwards. When diarrhea arrives acutely, especially after travel, after eating out, or after exposure to an unfamiliar food environment, your gut ecosystem has almost certainly encountered a pathogenic invader. A hostile bacterium or a parasite that has temporarily destabilized your microbial balance. Most of these episodes are self-limiting. They resolve within 3 to 14 days as your immune system mounts its defense. Here's what we know about the biggest mistake people make: reaching for over-the-counter agents that slow gut motility. When your body is trying to flush out a pathogen, slowing that flush can allow the invader to dig in deeper. With certain bacterial infections, blocking motility can make the infection significantly worse. Research suggests that natural antimicrobial compounds, oregano oil, berberine, garlic, and gut-lining supportive nutrients like L-glutamine, have real efficacy against a range of gut pathogens. These can often support recovery without suppressing the body's own clearance mechanism. Bismuth-based remedies have a reasonable evidence base for short-term gut reset, particularly in travel-related cases, and can help rebalance the gut environment without fully halting clearance. If symptoms persist beyond 2 weeks, or if you have reason to believe a specific pathogen is involved, that requires professional investigation and targeted intervention. Now, color. This is where your gut ecosystem gives you its most urgent messages. Brown is healthy. That color comes from bilirubin in bile, a sign that your liver-to-gut bile pipeline is functioning. Green stools typically reflect either very high intake of chlorophyll-rich foods or accelerated transit time. Content moving through so fast, it doesn't have time to fully convert. Yellow suggests the same. Things are moving faster than optimal and bile conversion is incomplete. Orange, in most cases, simply reflects high carotenoid intake. Carrots, squash, sweet potato. Your tissues are absorbing pigment and reflecting it back out. Nothing alarming there, but clay-colored, pale, or white stool is an emergency signal. The absence of that brown bilirubin color means bile is not reaching your digestive tract. Something is obstructing the bile duct. This is not a wait-and-see situation. This is a call your doctor today situation. And what should a truly healthy stool look like? Smooth, continuous, well-formed, a consistent medium brown tone. And here's a marker that often surprises people. When your gut ecosystem is genuinely thriving, cleanup is minimal. A healthy, well-populated microbiome produces a stool with a texture and consistency that requires very little effort to pass and very little cleanup afterward. If you're spending significant time wiping, your microbiome is telling you it needs better support. So what are the practical moves that shift all of this in the right direction? Diversify your plant intake. Rotate your prebiotic foods constantly, the way populations with low disease rates have always done. Fermented foods are not optional. Your gut bacteria need both the prebiotic fuel and the postbiotic activation that fermented foods provide. Vinegar, dark chocolate with high cacao content, unsweetened kefir, low-sugar kombucha. These all count. Cook your cruciferous vegetables thoroughly if your gut is reactive. Hydrate consistently, and consider magnesium in the evening if motility remains sluggish after all other adjustments. One question we want you to think about and answer in the comments. When did you last pay attention to what your gut was telling you? And what did you see? If this kind of evidence-led health science is what you want more of, subscribe to Senior Health and Wellness, because the next topic we're covering could change how you think about something you do every single day. Here's the cliffhanger we'll leave you with. There is one color pattern in your stool that most people never connect to a life-threatening condition until it's far too late to catch it early. We'll be covering exactly what to look for, and when the window to act on it closes permanently.